This is Kutztown Live, Kutztown University's campus and community radio magazine, with regular guest segments with the Northeast Berks Chamber of Commerce. More information can be found on our Kutztown University Radio website. And now, from the studios of Kutztown University Radio, Kutztown Live.
You're listening to Kutztown Live here on the radio voice of Kutztown University KUR. It's time for our bi-weekly, or this semester seems to be weekly segment because we have so many wonderful guests this year. Lori from the Northeast Berks Chamber of Commerce and her guest this week. So Lori, take it away.
Thank you so much, Mike. We're pleased to be here again this Monday to interview one of our long-established chamber members. Before I introduce our guest today, I'd like to highlight some of the upcoming activities at the Northeast Berks Chamber. If anyone listening today is interested in joining as a new member, please visit our website at northeastberkschamber.com. You can also check us out on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and you can always subscribe to our bi-weekly e-newsletter, whether you're a member or not, just to see what we're doing and how our benefits could support what you're doing in your business. Today, I'm happy to introduce someone that I've known for nearly 6 years, Heather Uzinski, although she's been a member of the Chamber for, Heather, did you realize it's over 20 years since you joined the Northeast Berks Chamber?
That's amazing.
It is. I know that you're very experienced at what you do. You have over 25 years experience, and included, among other things, you're a business psychologist, an executive coach, you are a business consultant, and you're an expert at emotional intelligence and conflict resolution. Heather, welcome to Kutztown Live.
Thank you, Lori.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Leading Edge and how it got started? And I know you celebrated an anniversary in 2020. So Leading Edge Business Consulting. Tell us about it.
Yes, I started the business 10 years ago. Before that, I was a mental health therapist. And during that time when I was helping people with personal issues, I really came to recognize that I enjoyed being a coach. More than I did diagnosing and treating mental illness, I really liked being a coach. So that's what led me to where I am now. And I started Leading Edge while I was still working part-time as a therapist. And to be honest, it's taken quite a while to make that transition. It's difficult to transition from being a clinician to the business world. But I've always had sort of an interest in business, so that helped me.
Well, Heather, like so many businesses and many of our smaller business members in the Chamber, we know that doing business has changed since COVID came on the scene at the beginning of last year. And we're nearly a year into a stage where doing business has changed so much that those businesses that are able to adapt to what's happening in the business landscape, just like any crisis that could come along, whether it's health related or economic, we know that succeeding is made possible by that ability to shift or adapt. So as a coach, Heather, explain to us how easy it was for you to transition from typically in-person situations to virtual coaching.
Well, for me, Lori, the transition was pretty seamless because what I did first was I went to Elise Mitten of Interlace Communications and had her teach me how to do Zoom, and then I was pretty much off and running.
That's so excellent that you relied on one of your small business peers, another member of the Chamber, to provide some professional development for you so that your learning curve wasn't as steep. That was a really smart move on your part. So what is different about working with your clients today via Zoom as opposed to working in person? What's different about that?
Well, I don't think working virtually is quite as good as working in person. That will probably always be my preference, but certainly it is second best. Sometimes it's hard to, just be staring at people, on a Zoom call for whatever length of time. And for me, it's very difficult to be sitting at my computer all day versus, being out and about. But I'm very grateful for it because it allowed me to continue my business.
Absolutely. A few minutes ago, I went through a short list of some of the services that you provide, Heather. Now, in addition to working with clients, you want to get yourself in front of new and prospective clients and also establish yourself as an expert in your field. Tell us about some of the ways that you've used perhaps social media platforms, for example, to get yourself out there in front of others in a virtual way.
Sure. Well, I get myself in front of other people and other business people by doing virtual networking. I'm a member of a few of those groups, and of course the chamber. I occasionally present my services, something about my services or a particular topic that's relevant. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I continue making connections and posting. And most of all, I have been for several months doing management minutes every Monday on various workplace topics.
I know that I follow your Management Minute, and I watch it nearly every week. I really enjoy that. And that's a really good way. You're welcome. That's a great way for people that, maybe you're developing a following of people that you haven't even met yet. And through that tool, using the Management Minute, a video recording that you post on LinkedIn, you're probably attracting some new connections to yourself, certainly.
Well, for sure. And I believe that the last coaching engagement that I got came as a result of someone who knew me from LinkedIn who actually I had never met.
Well, that's wonderful. That's excellent. So you're developing some leads for your business through that LinkedIn platform. Yes. Now, it's interesting. I was talking to someone the other day, actually an attorney who's in our chamber, and she was telling me about how much more time she has because all of the hearings are held virtually. So that's saving time driving places like to the courthouse and spending time finding a parking space, etc. So what have you found to be important now that you can perhaps have some additional time on your hands during this period of shutdown and restrictions?
Well, actually, Lori, during this time since COVID began, I've been working on a book, and I just finished my first draft of it, and I know that I really wouldn't have had that time had it not been for this particular situation.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that, and our listeners today will probably be among the first to learn about your new book. So we'll look forward to the day that that's published and we can see it. I want to bring up something related to emotional intelligence because every time I read about emotional intelligence, hear about it, I always think of you, Heather. And the reason is that I know that you administer something called the Simmons EQ profile. And I know that because we've used your assistance with that profile for some hiring decisions at the Northeast Berks Chamber over the years. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the profile, what it is, how it assesses emotional intelligence, and who might be a good client for using it?
Sure. Well, I often use it in my hiring consultation. It's so extraordinarily important to make good hires. People that I always say can do the job, will do the job, and will fit in to your culture. And it's really such a small financial investment in terms of how much it can cost to make a bad hiring decision, in terms of lowered productivity and then the cost of, trying to find a new employee and training them. It can be very, very expensive to make a bad hiring mistake.
I know in our experience at the Chamber, working with you through the process of hiring, that assessment really does provide insights that are very beneficial to decision making, because not every person is as they appear, that whether good or bad. And so it really, in my mind, provides the information that's necessary, as you said, to make a good decision, to make the right decision, because it would be very costly otherwise. I think that's an excellent point. Before we wrap up today, if you could give us an idea of, during this period of COVID, in terms of your coaching business, if you had to tell us about one upside to this new way of doing business, and then perhaps the most challenging part of it.
Well, I guess the upside would be I've spent a lot less money on lunches, manicures, clothing, all that sort of thing. The challenge certainly for me is not having an opportunity to meet with people in person, and I'm sure that's most people's challenge these days. As I said, I'm very grateful that I can work virtually, but because one of the benefits is that I can work with anyone, anywhere. However, as I said, I really enjoy face-to-face work more, and maybe that'll change in the future. I don't know, but it's just something that I appreciate, that I can do some work here in my office, but also can get out and about and meet other folks personally.
Yes, I agree with you. And all of your chamber friends are very social, and they miss being out and, meeting with each other face to face. Absolutely. Heather, let us know how we can get in touch with you. Please give us your contact information.
Oh, sure. My company is Leading Edge Business Consulting, and my website is www.leading-edge, B as in business, C as in consulting.com. My email address is heather@leading-edgebc.com. And my phone number is 610-763-7905.
And as we said, we know we can find you on LinkedIn and also on Facebook.
Yes.
Well, thanks for being our guest today. We appreciate always learning more about what our small businesses are doing in the Northeast Berks Chamber.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Lori. Thank you.
Before I close today, I'd like to remind everyone that the Northeast Berks Chamber is again, for a 5th year, partnering with the Kutztown University College of Business on the women's panel. In fact, Heather, you were a panelist for us a few years ago.
Yes.
And we will, on Wednesday, March 24th, we will be co-hosting with Kutztown University a virtual women's panel. That week, we will also have a family business panel. And if you go to kutztown.edu, you will find the complete list of workshops, panels, and keynote presentations that will be held that week as part of Entrepreneurial Leadership Week. So follow us at the Northeast Berks Chamber at northeastberkschamber.com. Again, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and sign up for our e-blast so you can stay current on all the activities of the Chamber and its members. Thank you.